Moving on to the regular agenda, item A is the Livingston County Clerk citation software for law enforcement.
Yeah, so for years, there's been a push to move to electronic citations for arrest citations, traffic citations, and crash reporting. And as a matter of fact, the circuit clerk has been collecting a small fee for quite some time. Their circuit clerk is ready to move on that, and the county has decided to purchase certain printers and software from a vendor that they will provide to all the municipalities and all the law enforcement in the county at no charge, as well as the maintenance for the first 6 years. So with that, they asked us to sign that memorandum of understanding, which is going to make things a lot easier for getting citations. They'll automatically upload over the circuit clerk, and traffic crashes will automatically go to the state. So from that aspect, it will streamline things much easier, and we won't be relying on 6 carbon copies of paper for everything.
So tell me, so somebody's gonna get stopped for a ticket,
Yep.
and what's this gonna do for us? I mean, so the officer's gonna have some kind of
So,
device they're
yep,
gonna
so
do
what the benefit for the officer is your driver's license, you can scan it and it'll populate a field instead of having to handwrite everything. And if it's not scanned, the software that we use, Spillman, if you look up an individual through that, you can import the data from the Secretary of State directly to the citation. It'll print it, the violator will get their copy, and the clerk will have their copy instantly. Yeah. What we do in the past is they get a copy, we take them back to the police department, their supervisor approves them, they go downstairs, and then within 1 or 2 days, we take them over to the clerk's office physically, and then we get called and say, I can't read this, and that. So
much more efficient process.
definitely is something that we've tried to do something similar to this years and years ago. A while back, the state had created their own proprietary software, and it never worked. And so we got in on it, and we tried it out, and when it printed, it was all, you couldn't read it, and they'd send updates, and finally they said, you know what, we're done. We're just going to use another state's vendors because there's a bunch of them that already have it mastered, so why keep doing that? So
Was this a skit on Saturday Night Live?
right. It has been about 50 years that this has been
Okay.
attempting, so.
So we just need approval.
We need
to
approval,
join
yes.
this.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Jason made a motion, seconded by Jerry Cowser. Roll call, please.
Heckhoff?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Cowser?
Yes.
Bradshaw?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Willie?
Yes.
Chauvelini?
Yes.
Thank you. Moving down the lineup, Jake, would you like to talk on Joey?
Sure.
We don't want Jim to say everything.
You skip it, item B.
It's
Next item. I'm sorry.
Oh.
B is, we can do C first.
Yeah, as long as we got him up, let's go. Yeah, thank you.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. As most of you know, the city of Pontiac has representation on the ETSB board, which is the dispatching board. There are 2 positions, and then there's an alternate. Currently, myself, Chief Davis are the 2 representatives, and then Administrator Wolford is the alternate. My term has come expired. I believe I've done 2 terms now, and Administrator Wolford asked me if I was interested in being reappointed to that position. While I do have interest, I have served on there for a couple of years now, and I think it's a good opportunity to allow another fire officer to represent the city in this capacity. I would definitely be supporting in the background. There are some major projects going on there that I still will be heavily involved in because I've been assisting them with the STARCOM transition. But I am a believer in creating opportunities for our younger fire officers to gain experience and knowledge in the administrative position as part of our continuity of operations. Chief Hassinger is very versed in radios, very much in the technical side where I am not. And we're entering a critical stage at the dispatch center where the technical expertise would be of value to the board as we transition into STARCOM and getting our infrastructure completely changed. So when Minister Wilford asked me if I was interested, I did propose the idea of letting Chief Hassinger serve this term on behalf of the city to give him that experience and to also lean on his expertise. Myself, I'm definitely willing to do it again. As you're aware, the substation is hopefully getting closer and closer, and I plan on being heavily involved with that, as well as continuing to help assist with getting the Lieutenant Tim Murphy Public Safety Complex in full operation. So we're trying to divide and conquer here. I think it's a good opportunity for Chief Hassinger to gain this, and then when the reappointment comes up again, I'm more than willing to revisit it to see if he would like to continue, recommend him again, or if it's a time for me to step in if there are other projects going on the board. So, do you have any questions? Tonight I just come before you to recommend that Deputy Chief Hassinger takes my place on the board as my term is expiring.
I think we all have great confidence in Chief Hassinger and of course in you. And I have no questions.
I move to accept
The appointment? Motion by John, seconded by Jason. Roll call, please.
Lee,
Yes.
Cowser.
Yes.
Bradshaw.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Willie.
Yes.
Giovanini.
Yes.
Eckhoff.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And going back onto schedule, I guess, professional service contract with Farnsworth on the pickleball courts.
Yes, so this is the actual agreement for Farnsworth in the amount of $28,050. This professional services contract they will provide the services of completing the construction documents, hosting the bids, giving us a recommendation on the bids, reviewing the shop drawings, and then providing construction observation and periodic review of the contractor pay applications and construction administration. So full service professional services agreement to see the entire project through. If you recall, the budget for that project, I think, is on this as well in the back. But in that $409,000, on the very back page, number 21 was the architect and engineering fees that they had already included. So this is not, it's not an additional fee, it's what we had expected, a little bit less than that, what they had said of $29,779.
Any questions on the pickleball courts?
I have a problem with the amount. That is a lot of money to be putting into that, in my opinion.
Well, it's a lot of money, but a portion of that money is from our ARPA funds,
Correct.
which are earmarked for programs like this, so, and we have a deadline on using that.
We do.
Is your objection, Frank, to the cost of the engineering or the cost of the whole project?
Cost of the whole project. I mean, at some point, you mentioned the ARPA funds, at some point, you've got to quit spending money you don't have. And I realize the ARPA funds you do have, in a sense, but, this is a lot of money.
The Humiston
Here.
Trust is giving us $175,000, and we've also received verbal notification of another $15,000 donation, and the budget was approved at our last meeting.
So the bulk of the money is not coming from us, it's donations really, over half, so. And with the ARPA funds, we're not really expending a ton. And the interest in pickleball is such that, we have to really make a look to help activities of, and it's really not just a youth activity, it's really covers all ages. I had quite a conversation with Nate Miller today, and halfway through he started talking pickleball. And I said, of course, my experience is from watching, not playing, so I had to let it go with that. But yeah, we've already put it into the plan, so I agree that it's a lot of money, but it should be money well spent, and I think it is going to be.
I think if you'd asked the people in Ward 1 on the southeast side, would they rather we put it into streets or pickleball courts, they'd probably say streets.
Well, I think every board would say that,
But
but,
ARPA doesn't let
yeah,
us spend the money on
right.
streets.
Right.
so we have to use the money we're, just like our motor fuel tax funds, it can only be used for
Oh, I understand.
certain funds, yeah. But I agree, it's a lot of money, but I think it's a project worth doing, so.
How many pickleball players are there in the community?
Quite a few more than I thought. I tell you, we're talking,
Well, I know Bob played Saturday morning, he plays regularly, and there was 40 of them there for 3 courts for
Yeah.
2 hours. So lots of people are sitting and waiting.
Yeah, Gary says at the rec center that if they put in on the other end more pickleball courts, they would all be full. Cause there's just that many people that wanna play all the time.
I go there and walk, people just sitting waiting,
Mhm.
yeah.
and there's a lot of people playing.
Well, they say it's the fastest growing sport right now, so,
It is.
Well, it's an all-age sport too.
yeah.
Yeah, well, most of the people I see playing are 40 and up.
Do we have a timeline on how soon it can?
So their
start?
timeline in there would be 4 weeks to have construction documents to us,
Right.
4 weeks for the bid being out, and then 2 to 3 months for construction.
Right, so we're talking.
So we're talking late July, maybe August, probably somewhere in that area,
Okay,
if it moved right along. So by late summer, we should have it completed.
okay, thank you.
Well, it's going to pass no matter how I vote, so.
But you're still, your opinion matters, Frank.
All our opinions, man.
Yeah, all right.
I would motion acceptance of the agreement with Farnsworth.
I would second.
A motion by Kelly, seconded by Barb. Roll call, please.
Hauser,
Yes.
Bradshaw, Howard,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Giovanini,
No,
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Thank you. Item D, the 2025 solid waste user fee.
Yeah, so I put this one in here instead of at our committee of the wholes, because last year we kind of set that we were running 50 cents ahead of what they were charging us to create that, or to cover that deficit in the solid waste fee. This year, Republic's charge is $22.58, and then so to continue to that addition of our 50 cents above to cover costs for us, as well as reducing that deficit, I'd recommend that the user fees be set at $23.08. It really is just a 33-cent increase from last year because the recycling processing fee was lower this year than it has been. So that has typically been the fastest rising number.
I have a question.
Yep.
When was the contract negotiated? I know it was before me.
I don't know off the top of my head. I'm thinking we have till 27 or 28 before this contract's over.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we.
It was at least a 10-year
I
contract.
think we
Oh, was
did
it?
it about 3 years ago, maybe.
Hmm.
I was here.
They came in and talked to us and everything.
Yeah, so we have the rates are set out already for the next, to the end of the contract. The only difference is there was a year when their fees went really high, and there's a clause in the contract that allowed an in-year adjustment. And so when you look at what the contract is versus what the fees are actually. The fees are a little bit higher than what the contract says because of that in-year adjustment. I think that was right in the COVID time.
So it was a 5-year contract, you think?
No, I think it was 10.
10.
Ooh, okay,
Yeah,
I'm gonna guess it was around 2020, just a guess.
yeah.
okay.
I can pull it up and send it
Yeah,
out
I've
to
got
you.
it on the computer
Yeah.
too. But I think they realized competitively, the really is not another ball game, and the rates were locked in relatively reasonable by going into the longer contract. That was for budgeting and everything, it's easier to look ahead and set your rates, knowing what your rates are gonna be. There are surcharges for fuel and that sort of thing in it to cover force majeure type of stuff.
Correct.
And Barbara, if I remember correctly, and I'm sure there's other people here and you can correct me if I'm wrong, at that time, we were overdue for negotiation, like we were past
Oh,
contract.
way past.
Yeah, and
Like we-
nobody really liked the deal, there just
Yeah.
really weren't any other options. And we considered quite a few things when we voted on it. One of them was, is this something we should manage on our own? And we looked at the cost of that. We looked at whether or not we wanted to continue with recycling. And, I mean, like, nobody was ecstatic about the decision. It just was something we had to do.
Yeah, I remember sitting in the audience at the time, but I couldn't remember how long the contract had been agreed upon.
Yeah.
Okay.
2018 is when we entered into the agreement.
7
So
years.
we got a few more years yet.
And
And I'm pretty sure.
the fee
from
schedule
sitting-
goes to 27, 28.
Okay.
Sitting through negotiations, I'm pretty sure, the city workers don't really wanna start collecting garbage again, which is the main option.
We looked at the cost of
Not
trucks.
extra on
Yeah.
either.
Yeah, we didn't have maintenance on it.
Trucks, union wages, the whole shebang.
Yeah. Alrighty,
I'll motion acceptance of the additional 50 cents continuation.
okay, motion by Kelly, seconded by Jerry Cowser. Roll call, please.
Bradshaw, Yes. Howard,
No,
Willie,
Yes.
Giovanini,
Yes.
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Cowser.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on, health insurance renewal.
Okay, we got our annual renewal quotes for all of our health insurance packages. The biggest change was going to be Delta Dental this year. They were an increase of 10%. Mr. Hasselbring negotiated with Blue Cross. Blue Cross has a dental plan themselves, and they offered us approximately the same premium as the 10% increase for Delta, but in addition to that, because we have Blue Cross Dental, and then Fort Dearborn is also a subsidiary of Blue Cross for our life insurance, we got 1% reduction. So our overall Blue Cross health insurance will be reduced by 1.02%, which is substantially better than 10% on the small Delta plan. In addition to that, we'll receive a one-time credit on our bill of $30,000. So taking the Blue Cross Delta plan financially is a better option than just sticking with Delta. If I said that right, taking the Blue Cross Dental, yeah, financially is better for us because the employees will save more on the health insurance side. And a couple highlights of the dental are there was a $2,000 annual max with Delta Dental. It's $1,500 with Blue Cross Blue Shield. There is a $1,000 lifetime ortho with Delta. The lifetime with Blue Cross is $1,500. However, Blue Cross also does adult ortho, where Delta Dental did not. They only did minors under 18. He was able to negotiate with us that When we switch to Blue Cross, your lifetime ortho maximum starts over. So if you had 1,000 already with Delta, you get the 1,500 for your minor child still. Typically, those companies will transfer those from, if you switch your dental plans, whatever your max you've already paid follows you. So if you move from 1,000 to another, you get no more on that. So they gave us that, and it also the other thing that Blue Cross covers that Delta does not are implants. And so while you lose out 500 on the annual, the ortho and the implants, we come out better off. So the ortho for adults as well as starting over for minors.
So I question on the employee coverage we pay in full for everyone.
Correct.
So the employee plus spouse and or children or family, how much do we cover? Do we cover just that same amount and they have to pay everything else, or we pay?
We pay 50% of spouse, child, or family. So if you took the full premium of family, for example, you would then subtract the employee cost out of that and then divide that in half, and that's what the employee pays.
Okay.
So we pay half plus the employee share.
Got it.
And health insurance is quite an interesting negotiation, because if you look at the employer rate, it's a little bit higher. Overall, we're down 1.02%. The employer rate's a little bit higher this year, and the savings are more seen on the dependents. So.
You just need a motion to accept?
Yes, we do.
Okay,
Sorry.
I will make a motion that we accept the renewal as presented.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Kelly, seconded by Jerry. Roll call, please.
Howard,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Joe Vanini,
Yes.
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Bradshaw.
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to make one comment really more for the public that's watching. So our monthly total health cost for coverage for all of our employees is $140,000 per month.
In round numbers, yes.
Yes. Yeah, and last year was 141.
Yeah,
So.
it's necessary,
Yeah.
I'm not, I
Mhm.
understand it, I have no objection, we're contractually obligated to this, but I think the public really doesn't see the totals.
No.
And
They'd love to sit in on the union negotiations. on
It-
this, too.
it-
Yeah, but Kelly, that total of 140 includes the employee contributions.
Well, that's true,
Yeah,
yeah.
so the employees
Yeah.
have family
Yeah.
or spouse,
Yeah.
their contributions are part of that 140.
Right.
Okay. Okay. The request for qualified airport consultant.
Yes. So we've kind of talked round about this the last couple of times. CMT is our current airport consultant for the projects we have listed. However, on that consultant sheet, we have listed crack sealing the runway. And the state's last inspection of the runway, and CMT is in agreement that it actually is in need of a rehab rather than a crack seal. That, however, is not part of our any consultant work, and so for that to be programmed, and that's coming here in the short future to use state and federal monies for, we will need to have a consultant for that. So the process of doing that is to put out a request for qualifications for an architect and engineering firm to give us their qualifications, and then we select the architect and engineering firm to program that with IDOT Aeronautics. So this is an authorization then to allow us to advertise for those qualifications. And so it'll be posted up on IDOT's website as well as locally here.
And the funds for this, come out of the airport funds, which we
Yes.
have
Yeah, these are typically, this kind of work is typically now, it used to be a 10% match, it's dropped down to a 5% match. That the federal government took, was 80, they took 90 now, and the state takes 5 and we take 5, so. But this one is not a fiscal year 25 project, so, but we have to get out in front of it.
I would motion acceptance of the consultant services.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by John Willie. Roll call, please.
Willie,
Yes.
Giovanini,
Yes.
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Cowser,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Hey, Jim, when they start talking about tanks again, I looked at Illinois Oil Marketing was the people that do the inspecting and stuff like that down in Bloomington. So I don't know if you're familiar with them, I don't know if they've been out here or not.
I'm not.
Try contacting them and see, what they have to offer. They may even know people that do, might help you with that.
Okay,
Okay.
yep. CMT will get a hold of me when they get closer to that project.
Thanks, Jerry. Moving on, Housing Study Special Committee. Kelly, you got an update?
Yeah, everybody's got the minutes of our last meeting in front of them there. We met a couple of weeks ago tomorrow and had some discussion about parameters to set for any funding opportunities that we are able to get grants that would help current individual residential homes, and how we can establish a fund locally that we will use city money for matching on that. We had some discussion about that, didn't come to any final decisions. The walking survey will continue to go on. Hopefully, we were hoping to be finished by the end of this month. The weather may set that back a little bit. It's not the end of the world if we don't get it completed at that time. Next month, we are going to meet, although I need to look at the calendar with Jim and Vaughn. I believe we're gonna have a quorum issue on our typical date on Tuesday, March 4th, so we're gonna try to get it changed a couple weeks, and I'll get in and we'll have that figured out before. But next month, we're gonna work, focus on building codes and fire suppression codes, and for residential upstairs downtown.
There's several aspects to this that people are going to find details that might be mind-blowing in some cases. It's all part and parcel.
Question for you, Kelly. Back 2, 3, 4 months, we filled out a survey on the computer. Were those results ever made to the
Oh, we
public?
had a.
That meeting up there?
That meeting up there, that's what that was, yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't get much out of that.
And they're on, the website. We have posted her report that
Okay.
she sent
Yeah.
on the website. Yeah, I mean, what she presented was really pretty quick.
Yes.
And not a lot of details and things. But if you read, the whole thing is online now,
Okay.
so.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, it says mayor's comments. I have a couple, 3. First of all, I hope everybody took time to peruse the annual fire department report that Jake and his staff put together. It was quite comprehensive, quite well done. I was asking him earlier about the 2 new hires. He says they're fitting in quite well, so that's great news. I wanted to comment on the library. The article in the Pantograph was quite nice and quite detailed, and of course I get to see people going in and out of the library every once in a while, and they're drawing a nice crowd almost every day, so it's been quite interesting. I don't know if any of you have had the opportunity to go by, but you should make an effort here in the next 2 weeks to stop in. The display is very well done. So I didn't go to the fellow that spoke last week, but
It was
the article.
standing room only.
Yeah, I could,
The
the
room
pictures
was
and everything
full,
were
and
just.
then some.
But if you
great.
missed him, he's gonna be speaking to the Historical Society Thursday night.
Yeah,
Right.
So we get an opportunity again, yeah.
There's also something on Saturday, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
That's Chris Lyle and.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So it goes through, first part of March, so
right.
let's, make an effort to check it out. Second thing is, I know that, not everybody got to see, the latest Vermillion players play. Love, Lost, and What I Wore, and everything. But as I understand, I wrote down here, Liz, A Star Is Born. Liz Vincent was one of the main characters in the play, and I got great reviews from everybody I've talked to, so. I didn't talk to any guys, they were all women, so I'm assuming it was a great show.
It was
So,
really good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay. The other thing, the other update I had was on the golf course, but that's something we have to get a little more detail on. Don't forget that the primary election is next Tuesday. Encourage all of your constituents to vote and represent the city. We've done a great job, I think, in putting out the information about where to poll, where to vote. I've had a couple people call me up and say, why can't I vote down on Torrance Avenue? And I says, because there's nobody gonna be there. John, are you doing a job as
Election judge?
yeah,
Yes,
okay,
right here.
okay, good. So just encourage everyone to vote, and we'll move ahead from there. And let's see, what other, anything else? No, most of the comments and phone calls I've been getting are more positive. Complaints about the weather, but that's, the time of year, what the heck. Moving on, city council, any comments there?
I got a list,
I
sorry.
have one too.
This is more kind of something to put on our docket for discussion. Alan maybe could provide some more insight on this at a later date, but I'm just throwing the idea out. As I've been working on fundraising opportunities for pickleball, one snag I've run into with the Caterpillar Foundation is that we don't have a park foundation. They will not donate to the city. So perhaps we need to explore setting up a Friends of the Park or something similar, not just for this, I mean for other purposes that we may have. Many communities, that's what I found.
Similar to what PTHS has.
Yeah, yeah, and so I would like for us to discuss that moving forward, because I could get some money from them for us, but I can't because they won't donate.
It's a process that doesn't have enough time for the pickleball project.
Oh, it wouldn't for that, yeah, I understand that, but in the future, if there was other things that we had, it would be easier for people to make a tax deductible donation. Downtown sidewalk snow removal, do we have any kind of, what is the city's role in snow removal? And I don't believe we have any ordinances that call for the business owners to, and we all received an ask about it, and I actually 2 weeks ago when we had a snow and I was downtown and I actually walked into a location and said to the girl working, do you have a shovel here? Because I had to go through the snow to get into their store, and I was really just trying to send a message of, your customers, you need, but maybe we have to come up with something that for future years that.
Well, we started, with the Main Street program, and at their meetings, the gatherings and everything, this has come up several times. And, the neighborly thing is, if you don't have a shovel, your neighbor probably does, or you can assist and both do it.
Right.
And so it's been discussed many times, but it's not likely that the city's ever going to come up with a plan to go down and do the main streets.
No, I don't
Yeah.
think we should be doing
Yeah.
it, but I think we should have some type of perhaps we have an ordinance that they have to do something.
So I think it's really more in part for the merchants as a group to set the example.
I
And-
wouldn't disagree with you at all.
Yeah, so we're.
It's kinda like mowing the berms, you know, people mow the
Yeah.
berm and, you know, between the sidewalk and the curb,
Right.
and that's city property. If everybody said, hey, we're gonna let the city do it, we'd have a problem.
Yeah,
You
But
know,
this
and there
says
is.
Sidewalks are city. are
And
city.
while we don't, and a lot of cities also don't, other cities don't have any ordinances that make it a violation to not shovel in front of their businesses. The goal is to generate the voluntary compliance. I think one note of importance, though, for you know, like even residents, is that there is Illinois does have an act called the Snow Removal Act that removes any liability. If like somebody should slip on a sidewalk in front of your residence, that there's no liability of the homeowner if whether you tried to remove the snow and did a good job or not.
Yeah.
The goal was to remove that to encourage people to go out and get those shoveled.
Yeah,
So,
back
because
in
the
the
city would
day,
never have time to do
If you
all
did,
the
if you
sidewalks.
removed the snow negligently, you
Yes.
could get sued even though yours was cleaner than the neighbor's.
Right.
Cause you left some ice underneath or whatever. And that act, kinda like the Good Samaritan law, took away that liability. So if you don't do it right, you're still not gonna get in trouble. You don't do it at all, technically you don't get in trouble. You know, and I'm better at my personal place, better at Washington Street than I am on Oak Street. Because Washington Street, a lot of traffic going to and from County Market. But last week, we did ours on Oak Street and we did Kloppenstein's, both, so.
Yeah, and I know, and we have probably sent some unclear messages in the past, because there have been times when we did do it and times when we haven't done it. But staffing over the last at least 8 or 9 years, we haven't had enough staff to go down there and do the downtown sidewalks ourselves, and so we have to rely on the business owners to do that. And my plea, I suppose, is that there are folks that have mobility issues, and if you don't shovel or remove that, it makes it harder for people who have a hard time walking, or if they're in a chair to get to your business. So
And
I
I do
have no
know,
expectation that we should be doing it, that's not what I meant at all. I just-
it's easier to hire parking lots done, which I have with Trost does the parking lot, than it is to get somebody to do your sidewalk. Sidewalks, I have to grab the shovel, or Matt and I grab the shovel and do it. And that's what the other business owners are gonna have to do. Of course, we've got a corner with a lot of spot, some of the storefronts are 20 foot wide. It's just not that big a challenge.
We pay $25 every time he shovels. It's not that expensive.
yeah.
And then my last question is, I noted in the thing that it says the ice rink is gonna be closing soon.
Mhm.
So is that because we just don't have any staff anymore, or are we anticipating starting to take it down?
correct.
Yeah.
That's it. Is beginning of March, and on top of it, there just hasn't been a lot of usage of it. So as we start evaluating, my guess is it's actually probably ready to go mid-February in the coming years, especially since we're opening it now at the beginning, right at the Thanksgiving
Right.
time. So yes, that's why.
I think a lot of that had to do with the extreme weather being here, the extreme cold.
Oh.
He was
How was the attendance this year?
The tennis has been very good.
Very
I mean,
good.
in the very beginning, our numbers are going to be way up from last year. Of course, it was open a lot more days this year than it was last year. So, and we've had good reviews. I mean, it was, synthetic ice. We had some challenges with the wood and some of the corners of the panels of ice, but streets and parks worked all that stuff out, and
Yeah.
there's been. The weekends were very busy.
Yeah.
How have the last few weekends been?
Last few weekends been pretty slow. I think Gary told me last weekend there were, over the whole weekend, 8 or 9 skaters.
Yeah, there was nobody there yesterday
Yeah.
afternoon. I was down
Yeah,
there.
Right.
okay.
Do we know how many out-of-towners there were?
I don't right off the top. They had kept all the zip codes and things, so we'll have him put that together and give a report on it.
Did they have any PE classes? Take advantage of?
That's interesting, that I don't think so, but that would be
Yeah,
an
we never
interesting,
thought about it.
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely, Chris.
Wait,
For sure.
Is there still
They go to
PE,
movie
Frank?
theater.
Yeah.
They take them in.
I mean, there is, but they
Yeah.
don't really do anything.
Yeah.
Maybe because it's cold.
Initially on the out-of-town thing, it was around 35% at one weekend that I saw with Gary, so, you know, it's substantial.
You know, I'm wondering with
Yeah.
Frank's idea is, well, if we started with our schools, how many other schools in the surrounding area would start saying, hey, that.
We'd have to charge them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We may come to that
It's like the
eventually,
bowling.
so.
Yeah.
And charge them for it.
Yeah.
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 And Kelly, in answer to your question, I sent you an email with a link to the city code. Application for a peddler's license shall be made in writing to the city clerk at least 30 days prior to the next regular meeting. The purpose of that was to give the police time to do the background check.
Correct.
But, you know, they got the background checks done here, but if you want to enforce that, we need to tell the folks that accept the applications to say, hey, you'll be on the meeting
Right.
after 30 days after.
Mhm.
Or if it's not gonna enforce it, to quote a former alderman, we should change it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Ryan would be.
Well, it makes
Thank
more
you.
sense that we enforce it.
Well,
Right.
I believe, Barb, you had something?
Yeah, I just had a couple questions. Is anybody using the rec center as a warming area?
It is, this,
It's open, I have not
Yeah.
got a report if they've utilized it, but it is open this week, it's been publicized.
How late are we keeping it open?
It's just business hours.
Okay, is there a possibility that maybe in the future, if the weather gets like it is going to be this week, that it could be, opened like overnight for some of the homeless?
we haven't done that because those that have needed it in the past, one, there's always been very few that have ever needed it, and if they did, during the business hours, the staff would work on finding them a place, a family, a relative, somebody. So we just haven't had a need for it to be open overnight.
Okay, but if,
According to our emergency operation plan, which all of you should have access to, if it was a large amount of people or there's a large power outage or something like that, the rec center does have the capability to do after hours. But as Administrator Wilford alluded to, most situations it's an individual or a couple families and we're able to find other resources for them to do that. So yes, we do have the capabilities of doing that, but that would require larger volumes of people that we have to take care of versus helping individuals where we can find a better resource for them to take care of them overnight.
okay.
Did they use it as a warming center about 10 years ago when they closed down 55 in that storm?
They've used it back.
Not sure if we used the armory that
They
time.
used the armory at that
Yeah.
time.
The National Guard was out at that time, so I think the armory was open.
Typically, we try to fill up the hotels for
Mhm.
closer conditions like that, and once those overflow, we start either utilizing the rec center or the armory.
No, I was just basically wanted to know if anybody else has been approached with that also, because I have been by a couple of people, because I know there are several. And there's a couple of gentlemen living underneath one of the bridges here in town, so, I was just wondering what the possibilities were, so. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, we do have executive session later on, so we'll move right into Jim now.
I have just a couple. The substation, we had our final meeting on putting together our specs for the design build. So that is moving forward, and USDA seems to be moving now. We did not get the Rebuild Illinois Main Streets grant for the downtown streetscapes. We were notified of that this week, or late last week. So that's unfortunate. We did get in your packets, we were nominated for the Wastewater Pollution Control Operators Plant of the Year. Two other things real quick is ACH fees for paying your sewer bill. This has come up that if you use the provider we have, Invoice Cloud, off of the website, you can sign up for ACH fees that way, but they charge $2.95. On our website, we offer ACH signups for free. If you go to Pontiac.org or just stop in the City Hall, Pontiac.org, the Department, Wastewater Treatment, and Sewer Billing, there is a link to the ACH form that you can fill it out and you don't have to pay the $2.95 fee. And let's see, you should also know that there's a public meeting that will be coming up in March. That is being held by ESP Solar. They are the ones that we have the lease with for 2A out at the airport. IDOT Aeronautics has decided that they needed to make a change in that, in a small 10-acre part of that initial plan that they've been working on for quite some time. And it didn't really affect us, but affected their FAA information. And so the IDOT Aeronautics has decided that any new solar projects near an airport require a public meeting to discuss. So that's going to be coming up, and they'll be having that either here. I think their notice said they were going to have it here, but when we talked, they talked about having it at the rec center. So we'll forward that along as well on our website, being that we are the sponsoring agency.
Is it ESP that does the public meeting or IDOT?
It's ESP. Yeah, they hold the public meeting to hear any public comments on the feasibility of solar at the airport.
Okay. Covered?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It does say public comments. Seeing our public is waning, we will need to have a motion to adjourn to executive session.
I so move.
Motion by John Willie, seconded by Jason Lee. Roll call, please.
Joe Vanini?
Yes.
Eckhoff?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Hauser?
Yes.
Bradshaw?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Willie?
Yes.
Thank you.